Studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening, I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is Alex Armstrong Tonight's late edition on the show.
This now is the change moment. We have an opportunity to turn the tide, to make the country feel like it's working again.
Well, Andy Burnham promised change, and the breaking news tonight is he's unveiled plans to boost the economy through devolution, including a scheme for number 10 in the north. Plus,
does this guy go home at night believing what he says? The answer is yes.
well, that man is Ed Miliband, and he's a front-runner to be Britain's next Chancellor. Well, he reportedly was made to shelve £400 million, a pledge he wanted to make to save the world's rainforests amid that bitter defence spending row due to its being a presentational risk. It's totally bonkers. Also,
that partnership allows us to remove failed asylum seekers, visa abusers and foreign criminals, all of whom are being removed from this country at a rate far higher than the one that we inherited.
Well, the Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood might talk tough about foreign criminals, but the number of offenders avoiding deportation has almost hit a record of 20,000 there. Not very nice people, trust me, and
there's something that I know is going to happen over the next 2 days, which is going to be, this is my last 2 days as your captain, and my last 2 days as representing England.
And his face is all over the papers again. England's captain, Ben Stokes, announced his retirement in the middle of the third test against New Zealand. And joining me this evening, trust me, we've got so much to go through, former Labour councillor Sebastian Salek, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and comedian Diane Spencer. All right. Yes, all right. Should we get into the show then, shall we? All right, let's get cracking with your front pages. The Telegraph. Andy Burnham, give me 10 years to fix Britain. And what's the biggest story on the front of the Telegraph, which I can't believe isn't their lead, is that almost 20,000 foreign criminals have avoided deportation. I'm going to tell you the types of people that have avoided this, because you're going to be completely outraged. Your blood will be boiling when you hear the sort of people that are allowed to stay here. The Guardian. Alarm raised over growing role of private equity firms. They're saying £1 in every 11 of UK government spending on contractors went to private equity-controlled companies last year. In the Metro, all hands off deck about Labour's defence investment plan. Of course, they want drones, not destroyers. The iPaper, Burnham vows to life Britain back up with biggest ever transfer of power. That is about devolution. How well has that gone for Britain so far, I wonder? The Sun, Jude, come on and do the Congo. There you go. Daily Express, maddening. £1.25 million waste of taxpayers' money. This is a trans row here, by the way, as it never ends. The Mail, tax raids of middle classes in Burnham's 10-year plan. We love a tax raid, don't we? Daily Mirror, my chance to give something back. This is, of course, brilliant Princess of Wales, who has done the Three Peaks Challenge. Really great stuff in charity, a charitable cause for the hospital that looks after her during her cancer. The Mail, tax raids of middle classes in Burnham's 10 5-year plan. Are we onto a class war, as I said we might be in the near future? All right, let's just bring you some breaking news. The government has announced a major overhaul of the immigration appeal system, creating a new independent body designed to speed up the removal of failed asylum seekers and foreign criminals. Ministers say the new independent Immigrations Appeal Authority will end the current system of repeated appeals, which they argue is being used to delay deportations. The Home Office says more than 150,000 immigration and asylum appeals are currently waiting to be heard, with the average case taking 61 weeks. Well, under the plans, migrants will have to bring all claims at once through a single appeal route, in a move ministers say will prevent abuse of the system and accelerate removals. The body will be staffed by professionally trained and independently appointed adjudicators, much like a magistrate, who will have a broad range of skills and backgrounds, with safeguards to ensure high standards. In other words, it means you or I could be on the panel which decides whether migrants are removed from Britain. I don't know how that will go down with the British public. The new body is expected to begin hearing cases from late 2027. Let's start with that, shall we? Because I think that's quite a big piece of news. Former councillor, Labour councillor Sebastian Salek's here, businessman and activist Adam Brooks, and comedian Diane Spencer. Sebastian, what do you make of these new immigration reforms?
Well, it's an important part of the system to target. It's where the real bulge is, isn't it? Because before the government came in, the Labour government came in, the Tories weren't processing claims, so the backlog went up and up and up. Labour got a grip on that, started to process those backlogs, and as you would imagine, people are going to appeal because they want to have a successful asylum claim. And so that is the part to be focusing on. This seems relatively sensible. Look, I need to get into the weeds of it. It's the first time I'm hearing about it. But if we use ordinary people as magistrates and other parts of the legal system with enough training and enough knowledge, it seems sensible that they could be taking part here as well.
Adam?
Shabana Mahmood, I hereby put myself forward for these panels, and thousands will go. So look, put me on the panels and they all can go.
What do you think, Diane?
I think it sounds like they've created a bottleneck, because if you only choose to get everybody to go via, they've said it's one system, if that would create a huge bottleneck, because he's already talking about clearing the backlog. But also, I think we need to sort of add to that another group that goes round, knocks on the door of these lawyers and goes, right, let's sit down, let's have a chat. Why are you fighting to keep this particular person in the UK, considering all the things that they've done? Just talk me through this.
What I can't understand, Sebastian, is why go through all this extra effort to set up all this? It's going to cost millions and millions of pounds to do, because, of course, you've got to train everybody. That's going to take time.
You need to buy a rubber stamp.
Well, yeah, you've got to have all the things that go with it.
I don't need no training, Alex. Again, Shabana, I need no training.
I think Shabana Mahmood might disagree with you on that one, Adam. But is this really going to speed things up? Is this not going to create another backlog for the people that need to be trained? In the meantime, of course, you could just change the law that says you get one appeal, and if you fail that appeal, you go.
I think we have to balance a system that works and has enough capacity within it to giving people a fair hearing, and this policy seems to do both of those things. So we're still giving them the chance to appeal, but we're also just adding more capacity by bringing ordinary people like me, you, or God forbid Adam on board to help make these decisions.
I think people say God forbid if you're on the panel as well, actually, Sebastian.
Let's do a poll with the audience. I wonder who they're going to side with.
The thing is, if you put these two on that panel and they disagreed, what happens then, right?
Another appeal.
Well, that's the problem, right?
Do I get a go?
Well, you might get a go as well, Diane. But this is the thing. The British public, and we've seen this, what comes to mind immediately was the recent Palestine Action case, where the first round, the jury found themselves to be in their favour, even though they committed, which I think, personally, was atrocious acts of criminal damage and many other things. The jury let them off. And it does beg the question whether actually the British public are the right ones to do this here, and actually the law is the right place to apply this. That's where I'm questioning. Go on, Diane.
You could end up with a Boaty McBoat face. Because quite often, you know, the British public, when given that much power, will go, oh no, this will be really funny if we do this. And then, you know, they can coalesce in quite a funny way, which is not necessarily what you want with such a serious situation.
Well, that's it. There is a serious point there where, look, people like Adam, like, you will still maybe volunteer to do this, but you're going with an agenda, as would I, and therefore you're not making independent decisions.
What would your agenda be, Sebastian? Would it be to keep these people here?
Well, I would look.
Is that what your agenda would be?
My agenda would be to look at each one of the merits, and if somebody passes the threshold to get asylum, they get asylum. If they didn't, they wouldn't. They'd go. But if you immediately politicise the system, it's not going to work as intended.
But that's the problem.
Going to be a real channel.
That is the difficulty, and this is why I think the government are going to find real problem with this policy. And on the face of it, it sounds like a great idea. Give the power to the people to decide who stays and who goes. But this is such a political issue, huge issue, one of the top-rated issues by people when it comes to YouGov polls. Inevitably, most British people are going to have a side, and then it will be a lottery. If you're, let's say, there's an asylum claim that's failed in, I don't know, a part of the country that's more left-leaning, right? You might find that actually everyone who goes through those appeals is allowed to stay. And you might find in other parts of the country they're not. So I actually think what you're creating is a postcode lottery for asylum appeals. It does also tend to be that asylum seekers are concentrated in bigger cities and areas. And I also fear that will create... If you had them in Crowborough, for example, do you think anyone in Crowborough, the vast majority of people in Crowborough, are going to say yes to those people? I don't think they will. This is going to be an absolute disaster.
I agree with you, because I've just remembered it's going to be like Tinder immigration. Because, like, I've got some mates who are just way too single for their own good. And if they're hot, they're just going to go, oh, yeah, swipe left. Or whichever way it is. And then they're going to let them in, because they're going to go, are they over 6 foot and are they broad-shouldered? Yes.
You get the whole range of the British
My main worry is that the government wants to silence debate on immigration. They want to shut people like me down. Even Sebastian wants to shut my opinions down. So what we're going to get, what we're going to get is... And look, let's also remember that the government want to prioritise BBC and media outlets like that on social media. Suddenly, 2 years down the line, you're going to get a lot of brainwashed citizens that may end up on these panels and think, oh no, they are all fleeing war and persecution, when we all know they're coming for a free house and benefits for the rest of their life. So look, I worry about the sort of people that are going to be on these panels.
I just think the entire, whatever way you look at it, whatever side of the political spectrum you're on, particularly if you are on the political spectrum, you're going to have an opinion on this. And I think actually what the best way to solve these issues is by the government who is elected to represent the people at the time to make it, whether we like it or not, make their decision on the law. Right? That is actually their job. What they're saying is, look, we don't really want to do this job. We're going to give it to you lot to decide. And I think that is a recipe for utter disaster. Right, look, let's move on to something else, shall we? Let's talk about Andy Burnham for a minute. I know you're all sick of hearing him. You're going to have to get used to it, because he's going to be Prime Minister in literally a few weeks' time. So he wants 10 years to fix Britain. His big policy that he's going to come out tomorrow, Sebastian, is on devolution. Now, I'll give you my opinion straight up on devolution. I think it has caused Britain to divide. Look at what's going on in Scotland. The SNP is trying to break our country up. I think, look at police and crime commissioners who've had those sorts of powers. That's got scrapped because it's been an utter disaster. And I just feel like we're creating more two-tierism throughout the country, where certain places will get more power, certain will get more money, and that ends up just being a fight between Westminster and those towns.
Well, I mean, you've cited some of the less appealing sides of devolution, but I mean, I think we could agree that the Metro mayors have been a success. If you poll people, they are more likely to recognise their Metro mayor than they are to recognise their local MP.
That's
so they're
true.
very present figures, there's a certain level of control in this country that sits below the national government and above local government, and it allows you to get stuff done. If you want to build a transport network between two cities, you then need to have two councils talking to each other, where if there's a Metro mayor who sits on top, they can create that kind of change.
I'm not against Metro mayors as a concept, by the way. I'm against the constant flood of... I feel like Westminster is slowly trying to get rid of all of its authority and power to the extent where, actually, when you elect a government to do something, you're going to get a situation a little bit like America, where you have governors with so much power, you can't really get anything done.
Isn't that quite a noble thing to do, to relinquish power?
It is noble.
As a national government.
It's certainly noble.
To people who may not agree with you and may end up fighting you.
Well, they might change their tune if you know, there's a... I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this upcoming election. I think we might know all the one there's an election happening in Manchester. I don't know what the purdah laws are anymore, because we've been constantly in purdah. So I won't talk about it. But they might change their mind if the result doesn't reflect the one they want. What do you think, Diane?
Well, I think on one hand, there could be some benefits to it, because, you know, maybe you could end up with people making sensible rules for their local area, like perhaps reducing parking fines, things like that, you know, stuff that really actually helps the local community. Equally, you could end up with a kind of weird state system where, you know, some things are allowed in one particular area of the UK, but they're definitely not allowed in the other. And then we sort of fracture a little bit, a bit like America. I mean, I thought about the bins with Birmingham, but I don't like the fact he wants 10 years. I mean, good grief, it's not a DIY project. Like, he's made it sound like
but it is a DIY project.
But he's made it sound like it's something he's kind of like... I think it's a little obnoxious to think that he's allowed 10 years and everybody else isn't given 10 years.
He's not saying I'm allowed 10 years. He's saying I need it, and any leader would, to be able to fix the mess we're in. You need a long time.
I worry. I think Tony Blair stripped our representatives in Parliament of a lot of their power and their duty and handed it to civil servants. And I believe this country is in the problems it is today, and our politics is in the gutter because the civil service has too much power to override what the people that we vote to represent can do. And I fear that if we're going to give people like Sadiq Khan more powers, it's only going to be bad. A lot of these mayors are lefty mayors, and I believe it's a problem.
How can a civil servant override an elected official?
No, the civil service have got more power. So basically, if the MPs decide on a law or decide on a policy, a lot of the civil servants, many in the Home Office, have decided they don't want to enact the laws that have gone through Parliament.
They have no authority to do that.
No, but they can slow it up. With Brexit, we see that. They slowed up the process. Civil servants have far too much power in our political sphere. And many MPs, past and present, agree with me.
I think what Adam's saying is that it's a bit like Yes Minister, right? That old show where the PM or the MP or the Secretary of State will say, go and do this, and it doesn't happen. I think that's a theme of ex-ministers that have come after the perhaps
very heavily the blockage in the...
Well, that's right. Yes, exactly, the blockage. I think that's basically what Adam's alluding
right,
to.
yeah, but then you have to use your powers as the executive to sack those
they don't.
Civil servants. But there's a sign of weakness in government if you're doing that.
It's a weakness in politics. Our whole UK political system is broken, in my opinion. Tony Blair changed the political sphere so much and gave too much power to the civil servants.
I also think on this issue, we've actually got such a lower class of politician these days. We used to have the creme de la creme, very intelligent people running our country who would challenge the civil service on their... and actually politicians who understood the workings of government. And I think that is a bigger problem we're facing in British society, where actually the politicians elected to Parliament know less about the workings of Parliament than the people who are operating in it. And it's the job... And we saw this, again, with Keir Starmer and the whole Manderson scandal, where he was saying, oh, I had no idea about this security vetting. And I think it goes back to that age-old theme. What does the civil service know that ministers don't know? If the Prime Minister, a Labour Prime Minister, is saying, I didn't know that, do you think there might be an issue?
Well, I mean, the point of the civil service, they're essentially a tool, and your job as a politician is to wield that tool in the best way possible. And so...
But if the example of Keir Starmer with the Mandelson files is a good one, and let's take Keir at his word on this one, because he hasn't been found to have lied about it so far, that would point to me that there's information the civil service deliberately withholds from government.
Maybe, but they shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
That is and they should face consequences.
And therein lies the problem. How do you know what they're not doing if you don't know what the issue is until it becomes a national problem? That's what I would argue to your case on it. And I'm not saying every civil service does this or every government body does this, but I do think that there's a growing feeling in the country that civil service isn't working for Britain.
Just to go back to the idea of the devolution and giving more power to the local authorities, some things that my local authority have done have been really, really bizarre. Like they just completely shut a public pool.
Right.
They were supposed to put funding into it. They were supposed to open it. They were supposed to make it really great. And they didn't. They didn't do that. What I'm saying is that, yes, it's an idea to give power back because, of course, then, you know, you can make these decisions and hopefully make the area better. But... There needs to be some kind of guidance from above, because otherwise we are going to end up really fractured. Yeah.
What's the point of voting in a general election if it's your local authority or your mayor that's going to wield the power?
Who do we need to butter up to get stuff done?
Can I say, I'm going to be so fascinated to hear what Keir Starmer says when he leaves office. Will he say similar things to Liz Truss, to Robert Jenrick, to Suella Braverman? Will there be this growing feeling across the political spectrum that actually there is a blockage. Because you would argue, I would argue, that Keir Starmer's downfall began when the Manderson files started. And I do wonder whether we're starting to see even some ex-ministers from this current government come out and say, we do need to reform the civil service. I've been saying it for a while.
That's already happened. I think you've had a lot of ministers, and it's been quite humbling as well. They've seen what the Tories went through and all of that talk of the blob. I think there's been some recognition that it is a difficult tool to wield.
Yeah, and I also think there should be a transition period. When you win an election, you should have 3 months before you're in government to understand what is going on, because you literally get the keys to number 10 and expected to run the country from that day. It is a ridiculous situation, right? At least in America, they have a transition period, a peaceful transition of power, where you take over the keys and you sort of start getting your people in there. That seems a lot more democratic. Seems like it works for them a bit better, and I think we should be doing things like that. Look, I've held back some big stories here because I want to give you a reason to stay tuned, because 20,000 foreign criminals have avoided deportation, or near enough that number. It's nearly hitting that record high. I'm going to tell you the sorts of people that are in that grouping there. And after the Great British Giveaway, I'll give you another tease. But before that, 60 grand in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, which you can send to me if you want to. I'll put my address out in the public. It would be worth it. 5 grand it's worth. Here's all the details.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific 2-part Great British Giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like this year. What would you do with that? And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. It's pure gold to own, trade or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. So make sure you don't miss your chance to bank over £65,000 worth of prizes in our Golden Summer celebration. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry starts at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck, everybody that's entering. And the other tease I have to bring you is this. An Afghan people smuggler whose network covers the whole of Europe, supposedly. Well, he's claimed, or she's claimed perhaps, in an interview that they've got contacts and about a group of people who tip the gang off about security operations here in the UK. If this is true, it is damning. We'll bring you that to you next here on Alex Armstrong Tonight, late edition.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Bold. They are under no illusion.
Ray,
are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts,
5 opinions,
5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news,
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday Five.
You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB loyalty points are here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on your say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB loyalty points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
Right, I'm bringing this inside story in the Express a little bit earlier to you tonight because I think it's worth discussing. Well, an Afghan people smuggler whose network covers the whole of Europe claimed in an interview with the Daily Express that he has contacts who tip the gang off about security operations in the UK. Well, Haji Ajmal said there are some people who are taking money before menacingly adding this, they are helping us. Well, Reform UK's Zia Youssef has declared that intelligence officers and the police would be ordered to relentlessly hunt down any corrupt official helping migrant smugglers under a Reform UK government. It's hard because we're speculating as to whether this is true or not, but let's just go on the assumption for a moment that it is true, Adam. What was your reaction to be hearing a story like that?
As I said in the last segment, you've got to take what this man says with a pinch of salt, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was the case. As I say, there's big money in people smuggling, millions and millions of pounds. People will always be swayed. Then there's people with agendas. As I've said before, in the Home Office and government departments, there are people that want these foreign men over here. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, and it has to be investigated 100%. But as I said before, the government and the spy agencies could see what I'm reading in my garden if they wanted to. They know exactly where these dinghies are. They know exactly who these people are. And for me, if there was a political will to stop this, it could be stopped at source in France. Why they're not doing it, I don't know. There's an agenda at play, in my opinion.
Diane, what do you think?
I think that considering how many different groups need to be involved and need to be notified when you're doing some kind of sting operation, I mean, that would suggest that the leak, the traitor, could be anywhere. But also if you sort of cut out, for example, if it's police, if you cut out the pensions of the police and you don't pay them enough, and then you've got some people smuggler who's offering to give them like $5,000 a time to just turn the other way, let them know, then you know, that's going to hollow out the trust in the police.
So you're saying corruption's easier when you're paying people a pittance, basically?
Yes.
Yeah, which is true, right? It's true. What do you think, Sebastian? Let's assume the story's true. We can go on the other side of it in a second, but let's assume it's true. What do you make of it?
I mean, if it's true, it's incredibly concerning. You have people within government or any other public body who are working against the interests of that body and against the interests of the country. So I'd want to see it taken extremely seriously by the government.
Yeah, let's go on the opposite spectrum of this now. Let's say it's not true. What do you think a people smuggler who seems to have given his name... bit weird. Probably a fake name, I would have thought. But what would they have to gain from that?
Well, it's a power play, isn't it? It's a comms exercise. You are wanting to show that you have the upper hand over the government, that you have people in places where they shouldn't be, and it underlines the influence that they have, and we see that influence, don't we? Go on.
Yes. Now, I like that idea, because what if he's trying to get investment from another group? And to get investment from another group, he agrees to this journalist interview and he says, yes, we have people on the payroll. We are a criminal organisation that you can invest in because we've got people in government, and he's lying to get more criminals on board in what he's doing.
It's an advert. They use TikTok to promote these trips, to get more people to use them to cross the channel. So again, if you're saying, look, your chances of getting across now are 90%, not 60%, so you pay your $5,000 to me, I will get you across. Maybe 1 in 10 won't get across, but you won't be that 1 in 10, then people are going to use them.
Yeah, this whole thing is really bizarre, the fact the Express have managed to get an interview, but we also shouldn't write off that this isn't real, because we do see these boats still coming. We do know that the gangs are operating, unabated. The government is trying to crack down on them, but unfortunately, as we know, every time you smash one gang, another one just pops up, because this is a billion, tens of $billion industry. So it's really hard to tackle, and it wouldn't surprise me, and I'll say it wouldn't surprise me if people were getting backhanders. It just wouldn't. Given the level of intent to get to this country by people, it would not surprise me. And we've seen from GBNews doing some stuff. Patrick Christie's has done incredible work going over to Calais. How organised some of these groups are, but how also under the thumb the poor people who are being manipulated by these gangs are too. A government spokesperson has told GB News, if the Express has evidence of organised immigration crime, we urge them to provide it to authorities whose officers have doubled the number of disruptions in the last year to well over 4,000. We're hitting the gangs harder than ever and from every angle, securing arrests and convictions and seizing the criminal assets and money they rely on. All right, look, let's just turn to... where was it here? Yeah, let's just turn to this Daily Express, another Daily Express story here. Failing NHS trust blew fortune defending right of trans medic to share female nurses' changing rooms. £1.25 million went on this utter madness. Adam.
I've been talking about the trans agenda and the trans madness for 7-8 years online, called every name under the sun. It is someone that's got a wife, someone that's got a mum, someone that's got daughters. Men should not be in women's spaces. And how so many of these politicians are brainwashed into thinking that this is OK, I just don't know. What a waste of money. The world has gone mad over the last 7 or 8 years, and we need to get back to what is right and what is wrong. And, men pretending to be women should be nowhere near women's spaces at all.
Do you know what I can't understand, Diane? Is that the Supreme Court made a ruling on this.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that the NHS is still... the penny's not dropping.
No, they're willfully ignoring it, because it's full of woke, agenda-driven people, the NHS, and they do not want to admit that trans people, trans women that are men, should not be in women's spaces. They're just not accepting it.
Now, I have to say, I don't know for sure that this is not looking back before the ruling, so I don't know. I can't see the rest of the article because I've just got the front page in front of me. I'm looking for it online, but it doesn't exist right now. So I don't know whether this happened after the ruling or before it. If it happened after, Diane, I would be like, well, you've got to pay that money back, because that's a massive waste on a trust that is supposedly in County Durham here in Darlington. This is what I can tell you. The doomed defence of a trans-identifying man's rights against female nurses could hit taxpayers for a 7-figure sum. County Durham and Darlington NHS Foundation Trust may be liable for as much as £1.25 million, including legal costs.
I mean, that is a high price to pay for one person's sense of entitlement against actual democracy, because why on earth has the perceived needs of the one completely outweighed the needs of the many? And for them to spend this amount of money is absolutely shocking when you're dealing with somebody who, and I have trans friends, and they have said it's a mental disorder. I'm sorry, but it is.
And a fetish for many. Many of these men cosplay as women to actually get off and go into these women's spaces.
Well, look, many trans people will argue it's none of those things, but what a lot of them will argue is, why has this been so heavily politicised by such a small group of people? I've spoken to trans people who have said to me, before all of this, I lived a quiet, happy life. People let me get on with my life and nobody cared. Now, everyone's got an opinion on my lifestyle. I did not want this. And I think that actually angers me more, because there are people, and I don't care how you want to live, actually. If you want to live as a woman, you're a man, absolutely fine with me.
Just not in women's spaces.
Don't expect everyone else to change the way they are around you. I think that's the key thing people don't want.
And the key thing for me as well is that a group of nurses, I'm sorry, but these are all co-workers. If a group of my co-workers said, Di, I'm sorry, you're ginger, we don't want you in the changing room, I'd have to go, do you know what?
Right.
All right, if you don't want me in the changing room, fine, I won't go in. I'd change somewhere else. I'd be like, oh, forget those lot, and I'll just get on with my life.
It's a sense of entitlement, you said.
Sebastian, what do you make of the story?
Yeah, I mean, look, from what we can tell on this front page, and the information is limited, it seems like they've lost the case. But I would disagree that this is one person who is bringing this. This is now going to act as a test case, essentially. We're going to know, based off this, that you are not going to win cases like this. So I think we'll see other people who may have tried not bring this kind of claim in future. So it's helpful legal precedent. It's a shame for the person that they lost. And I would just say broadly that I stand by the trans community, and I just want them to be able to live in
Should
peace.
biological men be in women's spaces, yes or no?
I think there's a
Just say yes or no.
Well, you can't say yes or no to a question.
Well, it's
like
a no.
because it's extremely...
The majority of this country say no.
But you just said you're with the trans community, but some of my trans friends are on the side of the nurses.
I'm sure they are. There's no single trans voice or trans position, is there? We all have individual opinions.
I think it's difficult for you to say, I'm with the trans community.
So what I said was, I'm with the trans community, and I want them to be able to just live their life.
I'm with the 51% of this country, which are women.
Well, I think this debate has been raging on in Britain for a very long time. I don't think we're going to solve it here on this panel, unfortunately. But next on the show, we're just full of stories tonight here. It's actually great, because hopefully you're all enjoying it. But more things to make your blood boil, unfortunately. Almost 20,000 foreign criminals avoid deportation. So despite all of that sort of tough talk from the Home Secretary, we've still got an issue here. I'm going to tell you about some of the crimes that have been analysed in this report here, and you're not going to like it. You're not going to like it. That's coming up next.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, and welcome to your holiday sun forecast from the Met Office. The heat wave across Europe does continue over the next few days, but it will slowly start to cool off. Across parts of Spain, they did see the record-breaking temperatures, but they are slowly starting to decrease through the days. We do have thunderstorms across northern Italy, but the mainland are pushing 40 degrees. Athens and Santorini around the high 20s and low 30s, but as I said, as we go through the week, those temperatures will start to drop towards those low 30s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office.
Lots of dry weather around as we head into Monday. Warm, but certainly not feeling quite as humid as it did last week. And there will be the odd shower or two, and that remains the same as we progress into this evening. Low pressure towards the northwest. This at times bringing in some rain and showers, particularly across western areas of Scotland and at times across Northern Ireland. And quite blustery across the Western Isles as well. A chance we could see some coastal gales around exposed coasts. A bit of cloud pushing into the west at times. This might just be thick enough to produce the odd light bit of rain and drizzle, but otherwise rather dry. Plenty of clear skies across eastern England, and you'll certainly notice a difference in the feel of the air. Not feeling quite as humid overnight, much more comfortable to sleep in, and temperatures widely in the mid to low teens. So across Scotland to start off the day, any strong winds across the west soon easing away. Still plenty of showers though. A little bit dry across the far north and northeast of Scotland. A few showers just creeping into coastal areas of Northern Ireland, but elsewhere across England and Wales it should be a mostly dry and bright start, though perhaps still some patchy cloud around Wales, southwest England, also across northwest England as well. But this should mostly lift and break through the course of the morning, allowing plenty of bright, if not sunny spells. Winds around Scotland should soon ease away, so light winds across much of the UK, and so where we do see the sunshine it will feel rather nice and pleasant. Certainly not feeling quite as humid, but still very warm in that sunshine, temperatures reaching around 23 to 24 degrees Celsius. Quite a different day ahead as we head into Tuesday, rather unsettled. We could see some rather heavy downpours at times across parts of the north, these potentially turning rather thundery, and some heavy showers moving elsewhere across England and Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. The best of the brightness certainly across parts of the southeast, and we'll see a mix of showers, also some brighter interludes into next week, but also plenty of warm sunshine.
From cold mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again.
To start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back,
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
and we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, welcome back everybody. I promised you we'd talk about this story. 20,000, almost. I think the number is something like 19,000. I've got it here actually. Why am I just pretending I don't know the number? I mean, I've got it here. Anyway, it's almost 20,000 foreign criminals can't be deported from Britain. Now, of course, this is on the front page of the Telegraph here. The Home Secretary has talked tough on this. 19,779 offenders living freely in Britain. That is more than double the 8,500 which were here in 2020. Double in 6 years. This shocking stuff. The Telegraph have done an analysis of more than 400 immigration appeals by foreign criminals in the past 18 months, and they can reveal there are people such as sex offenders, robbers, fraudsters, arsonists, and domestic abusers successfully challenging their deportation under Article 8 of their right to life under the ECHR, right to a family life. This is what we've been talking about for so long. And I can't understand for the life of me, Adam, why any government is looking at that clause and saying, why are we interpreting it that way in Britain? Why are we not changing this? And why are we not getting tougher on our appeals system to say, if you've committed a crime in this country, I don't care what it is, you're going home?
Yeah, why are we not sovereign enough to be able to say, we don't care what a foreign court or a foreign judge says, you're going? You've breached our laws, you've put our women and children at risk. We don't care about your human rights. We care about the human rights of our women and our children to live a safe life. That's what any government, any Prime Minister with a set of, would do.
That's exactly what this government is doing.
That's what I would do. No, but they're not. Well, OK.
I mean, it's on the front page of the
Telegraph. We're literally not deporting rapists, paedophiles and whatever.
So
and
why are deportations at their highest in a decade?
They're not deportations.
Oh.
They're overstayers. Look, let's not cloud the figures. The people that are getting deported are visa overstayers, more like your Brazilian bar workers, your Vietnamese now workers, or Aussies, yeah? They are not the people that are coming across the channel. They are not the people that are committing sex crimes. They are not foreign criminals. Let's get that straight.
That's just not true.
That is true.
Just not true.
Fact check me, Sebastian. That is completely true.
But you're saying that no government has done anything, and I'm reading this, clear as day in front of me, legislation being unveiled tomorrow aimed at restricting the ability of foreign criminals and illegal migrants to exploit
Let's see, because there will be lawyers that will circumvent these laws and cite another ECHR ruling. So at the end of the day, we need to leave that court. Reform will leave the ECHR. They will leave the Refugee Convention.
Why give up all of our human rights?
Because then we can have our own. We can be sovereign, have our own human rights. And when lefties or people on the left say, "Oh, we're going to be like Russia," no, we're not. We basically founded the Western world. Our democracy is one of the oldest in the world.
I think Britain founded the Western world.
Let me tell you now.
Challenge you on that
we are never going to leave ourselves without human rights. That is just an absurd.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
That is just an absurd assumption.
I don't believe you.
Diane?
I like Shabana Mahmood. I think that she's got a clear plan, and I think she's doing what she can. I do think that she is struggling with these lawyers, and I don't understand the lawyers who decide that if somebody has committed a sex offence, that they should somehow then not be deported if that is a ruling, and then they use the European law to stay in the country. I think that is wrong because, if you are, for example, a sex offender and you're saying, don't deport me back to my own country because I'll be persecuted. Well, you'll be persecuted for being a sex offender because that's what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
So there's very clearly a problem, but I have noticed, out of the Labour Party, I do think that she is genuinely trying to make a difference.
I will agree with you on that point. And I've said this before on the channel. I know people might not like to hear it. She has been tougher and better than consecutive Home Secretaries before her. Let's just remember that one of them, I won't say who it is because I'm sure she watches the channel, still won't apologise for the Boris wave. Just saying that. One thing here, just to wrap up this segment here, Telegraph analysed 3,000 upper immigration tribunal decisions, of which 426 involved foreign criminals. Of those, 369 had committed offences in the UK, with the vast majority, 340, appealing their deportation on human rights grounds. Of that number, 149 or 44% won their appeal. And I can't read the rest of it, but the last line is here. This included a 60-year-old Spanish drug dealer jailed for 7 years.
So the majority are losing their appeals?
That's right. 44% is still too high, Mike.
They're still not getting deported.
Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has said this. Returns and deportations are at their highest level in nearly a decade. Nearly 70,000 individuals who have no right to be here have been removed from the UK since this government took office. But we will not stop there. These expansions will see thousands more foreign criminals and illegal migrants who have no right to be here removed. All right, coming up, prepare for tax raids on the middle classes in Andy Burnham's 10-year plan. Does it all sound a little bit Soviet? A little bit communist Russia, maybe? Let's talk about that next.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
You've been seeing Glengarry Glen Ross.
I have. So the movie was 92 and the play was 84, 85, something like David Mamet. It's all about men, or it's about men that are posturing being men. It's this idea of sort of toxic strutting, peacocking. However, the outrage, this most male of plays, has been cast with all women. Horrific. Taking away men's jobs right in front of us, Michael. It's on at the Old Vic, and we've got a cast of the ladies having a little word about it.
I think it might explode the play and open it up in really amazing ways, but we just don't know. And that is thrilling.
On first glance, you look at Glengarry and you think male, masculine world, male toxicity. But then if you strip that away and look at it from another lens, you say, no, this is about humans.
GB News, the People's Channel. Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Joining me now is Chef Julie Walsh, who's the head of patisserie at Le Cordon Bleu.
Thank you.
How lovely to see you. You look marvellous in your chef's hat and your chef's jacket. Tell me about Le Cordon Bleu.
Le Cordon Bleu has been in operation for over 130 years. We had our 130-year anniversary last year. I'm from the campus in London, in Holborn, and we have a very wide-ranging curriculum with our students. I teach patisserie, so for me, I teach students to learn about things such as bakery, cakes, entremets, such as this one here, and showpieces. We do chocolate and sugar sculptures as well.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
3 lines on my shirt, never stop me dreaming.
Could this be England's biggest superfan? Benny Elcock has covered his York home in St George's flags in support of England ahead of the World Cup. 3 Lions memorabilia are draped across his windows, garden gates and flower pots. Even the family's Yorkshire Terrier Reggie has his own outfit.
We've done it for years. And I'll stick my Everton one up, because I'm a massive Everton fan. People just think I'm mad. Say, well, you've gone a bit mad, you've gone a bit overboard. I said, I don't care. I love it.
Football mad Benny can't wait for England's first match.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Should we have another chat about Andy Burnham? Come on, I know you're all gagging for it. You love talking about him, the King of the North. Well, first of all, right, this King of the North nonsense. I hate that phrase. I hate it. If you're a Scot watching this show, you're going to say, he's not King of the North, we're in the North, right? Yeah, yeah. Are we just talking about England? Because he's going to be Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. In fact, Manchester's in the bottom 40% of this entire country, so he's not King of the North, he's King of the Midlands at the best, right? Bit more boring, isn't it? Well, the Daily Mail's calling him the Messiah without a mandate. Tax raids on middle classes in Burnham's 10-year plan. Would-be PM to unveil left-wing mission. Andy Burnham will today set out, this is of course tomorrow, well, what time is it? Yeah, in 10 minutes. Will set out his left-wing plan for a decade in power as he plots to tax raid on middle-class Southerners.
Oh, again, I mean, good grief. We've got the whole making tax digital thing. They're really, really squeezing the middle classes. They're squeezing the sole traders. They're squeezing all the people who run their own independent businesses. And stop squeezing us. Like, squeeze the rich people, squeeze the properly wealthy, or squeeze the big companies. Do you know what I mean? Like, already they've changed the tax system and they're rolling out this making tax digital, which has suddenly quadrupled many people's accounting fees.
Yes, that's true.
All they're doing is they're trying to make sure that they get every single tiny penny from literally, like, the middle class. And by the middle class, I mean everybody who kind of also works for themselves. They may not think they're middle class, but it's the people like the self-employed plumbers. I heard a man swearing his head off on the train about making tax digital.
Yeah. Because it's not really making it digital, it's just making more work.
It's just
making tax more laborious. Look,
Adam? There's a reason why unemployment is at a 6-year high. It's because this Labour government is basically hitting firms, businesses up and down the country. They're making it too expensive to hire people. And when you hit businesses with so much red tape and so many taxes, we do not want to grow. In fact, a lot of business now are shrinking to to save money, not taking people on, not wanting to go above thresholds to pay more tax and such. And all that happens is the economy shrinks, OK? So people in their middle classes, maybe 40, 50 years of age, are thinking, right, I'm retiring in 15 years. You know, I'm just going to sort of hoard what I've got now, not take any risk, no aspiration to get bigger, to hire more people. And this it really is damaging. It's a socialist way of running this country, and we are hurtling towards socialism, and it's scary.
Seb, as a London Labour guy, are you worried this will cause friction within your own party?
I'm not too worried. Look, there's been a huge disparity between the north and the south of this country for a long, long time now, and I'm a southern softie. I've grown up in the south. I've lived here my whole life, and I think we do need to do more for the north. People up there deserve to live with the prosperity that we do down here, and that's probably going to mean giving a bit away of our wealth and our privilege here.
I think there's other ways you can do it.
Yes, but you are clearly, seriously coming from a position of privilege to say that we should just... Oh, my God, I can't believe you said that. There's so many people.
We've got to leave it there, unfortunately, because I've got to do a wrap-up of the front pages one more time for you all at home. The Telegraph. Burnham, give me 10 years to fix Britain. The Guardian, alarm raised over growing role of private equity firms. The Metro, all hands off deck about Labour's defence investment plan, of course. The iPaper, Burnham vows to life Britain back up with biggest ever power transfer. The Sun, Jude, come on and do the Congo. Daily Express, maddening £1.25 million waste of taxpayers' money. The Mail, tax raids of middle classes in Burnham's 10-year plan. The Times, Burnham, I want mayors to help cut the benefits bill. The Mirror, my chance to give something back. The Mail, tax raids of middle class in Burnham's 10 years plan. All right, that's time. I will be back tomorrow covering Patrick Christie, so come and join me at 9 o'clock. Up next, it's The Late Show Live.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Lots of dry weather around as we head into Monday. Warm, but certainly not feeling quite as humid as it did last week. And there will be the odd shower or two, and that remains the same as we progress into this evening. Low pressure towards the northwest. This at times bringing in some rain and showers, particularly across western areas of Scotland and at times across Northern Ireland. And quite blustery across the Western Isles as well. A chance we could see some coastal gales around exposed coasts. A bit of cloud pushing into the west at times. This might just be thick enough to produce the odd light bit of rain and drizzle, but otherwise rather dry. Plenty of clear skies across eastern England, and you'll certainly notice a difference in the feel of the air. Not feeling quite as humid overnight, much more comfortable to sleep in, and temperatures widely in the mid to low teens. So across Scotland to start off the day, any strong winds across the west soon easing away. Still plenty of showers though. A little bit dry across the far north and northeast of Scotland. A few showers just creeping into coastal areas of Northern Ireland, but elsewhere across England and Wales it should be a mostly dry and bright start, though perhaps still some patchy cloud around Wales, southwest England, also across northwest England as well. But this should mostly lift and break through the course of the morning, allowing plenty of bright, if not sunny spells. Winds around Scotland should soon ease away, so light winds across much of the UK, and so where we do see the sunshine it will feel rather nice and pleasant. Certainly not feeling quite as humid, but still very warm in that sunshine, temperatures reaching around 23 to 24 degrees Celsius. Quite a different day ahead as we head into Tuesday. Rather unsettled. We could see some rather heavy downpours at times across parts of the north. These potentially turning rather thundery, and some heavy showers moving elsewhere across England and Wales by the time we reach the afternoon. The best of the brightness certainly across parts of the southeast. And we'll see a mix of showers, also some brighter interludes into next week, but also plenty of warm sunshine.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
It's the Great British Giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be